Starting off this episode, we have Beyblade for the PlayStation. I used to have this game as a kid. It was one of those I didn't like much, but still played for the brand recognition. I think we've all played licensed games like that as a kid. I dropped it as soon as I got Super Tournament Battle for the GameCube. I bought it again because I thought it would be a unique kind of game for a video. That was 2 years ago, and only now is the video being made. I watched the first series of Beyblade a lot at the time, and me and my brother built up a huge collection of the actual toys, though none of them remain. I also watched the V-Force season and enjoyed that one even more, but despite anticipating G-Revolution, I just never bothered with it. I think it just took too long to show up on UK TV and I just fell off the series. Last time I watched this series must have been 18 years ago now. So when I start a new game I have to give my personal information to Kenny. First I choose the male or female avatar. Both of these avatars will be in at least one more game. So I go with the boy in this game, meaning if I do another game I'll choose the girl. I have to choose between the Dragoon S or Dronza S blades. I go with Dragoon S since I think it's closer to the final setup I'm going for. I don't get the Dragoon Bit Beast though, it starts me with Kid Dragoon. Same with Dronza S, it'll start you with Night Dronza. It also starts me with 100 points for buying parts with, so I jump straight into the shop. The selection of parts is actually quite small and just barely covers even the first season's lineup. There's the 2 S Beyblades we can start with, all the 4 main characters F Beyblades, and then the leader of every main rival team from the first season. So that's like, what, 2/3 to 3/4 of season 1 parts just not there? Of course this does mean that the more uniquely shaped tops are missing. No Tripio with its giant attack ring, no Wyborg with its being an absolute nightmare to put together for a child. I start by using all 100 of my points on the Cross Griffin attack ring. With that I jump straight into tournament, which is 7 rounds long with no retries as you'd expect. Here's the annoying part that makes grinding tournaments not a good option. Even with the option to skip dialogue, constantly skipping through the tournament opening with DJ Jasmine and the chairman gets old very quick. But before facing anyone we actually recognise, I have to take on 3 generic unnamed bladers in a random order. But now we reach actual gameplay. Of course, the more the launch bar fills up when you press determines both your speed and the amount of time before you spin out. But since I just have a default launcher, filling the bar doesn't get me as much speed as it could. Thing is, I haven't fully recalled how the game works, so I end up throwing myself out of the stadium. A ring out is worth 2 points, with the winner being the first one to reach 4. So because I haven't remembered how everything works, I'm just bumping myself into the opponent waiting for something to happen. I win the second round, but embarrassingly fall out of the third round. Losing a match gets me a minuscule 5 Bey points. When I restart the tournament I see another lose condition, where the opponent misses by having their Beyblade immediately shoot out of the stadium. These are worth 1 point. At this point I at least get used to how to control my Beyblade, but that's all. I win, which earns me 10 BP. Kenny offers to fix my Beyblade to restore its HP, which when reduced to 0 will break my Beyblade. But that's such a rare occurrence there's really no point, as repairing it also affects performance for the rest of the tournament. Next is Blader B, who goes down with a very quick double ring out. Then comes Blader C, who's a bit tougher than Blader B, as he manages to ring me out once before I do the same to him twice. With those 3 out of the way, we get the actual characters from the series, and I first get the actual worst character to face in the game, Max. Max's Beyblade is built entirely around defense, which means it can be a pain to knock out or outlast. But also the fact that I still don't know how to fully play the game makes it impressive I won even 1 round against him, though I still lost here. Time to try again. This time when I get to round 4, I'm put up against Tyson, who's also one of 2 possible opponents for the final round. This is actually really good, as AI Tyson is about as intelligent as I remember him being in the show itself. He just loves throwing himself out of the stadium at the first opportunity. I barely have to do anything to win. After him comes Tala. Tala's unremarkable as an opponent. He's like a tougher version of the generics who has access to a Bit Beast. I'll get into those later. He dominates the match, throwing out a Bit Beast someone every 2 seconds until he wins. At this point I give up on tournament and decide to win more points through the regular quick play versus. Here I can choose any of the non-generic opponents and repeat matches against the easy ones. Of course I pick Tyson for the easy wins. After a couple matches it's back to the shop to buy the 8 balance weight disc, along with the left spin gear with metal ball. That's half the parts I need for my target Beyblade. Then back to the tournament, hoping a stronger gear and more balanced weight disc will help me. Back to round 4 and Michael is my opponent here. Michael has probably the most unique Beyblade shape in this game, mainly due to that tall thin base. He's also a pushover who goes out of the slightest touch, or maybe my new parts are just that good. For round 5 I get Kai, who is one of the other 2 possible final opponents. If you've seen a couple of the videos I've made, you'd know I've never been a fan of the rivals in anime. I disliked Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Matt from Digimon, and had mixed feelings towards Vegeta from Dragon Ball. But for some reason, Kai actually wound up my favourite character in Beyblade. I couldn't tell you why though, it was so long ago. As you'd expect from Kai, he's definitely quite aggressive, usually launching his Beyblade in at full speed. But that usually ends up with him losing control and falling out of the stadium, which gets me another easy win. For round 6, I get Robert. I actually find him just as easy as Tyson, despite him being smarter. It's merely due to his huge fat ass Beyblade that takes up so much space, making it easier to hit, but is also not strong enough to take my hits, sending it out of the ring very easily. So of course, with Kai already faced earlier this tournament, that makes Tyson the opponent in the finals this time. And of course, his AI makes this an easy victory. All I get for an ending is the chairman congratulating me and telling me to keep it up. We then get the credits. After the credits, I'm given a random free Beyblade part, in this case another 8 balance. So at this point, I think my only goal is to obtain every other Beyblade part in the game. I try another tournament, thinking the 60 BP and a free part for winning is the way to go. But Max's defense ends up taking me out. He's the only remaining threat in this game. And then my next loss is to him as well. It's bad enough Max can be such a pain, but what makes it worse is that you have to look at this face he's always making. After this loss, I have the 150 BP needed to buy the SG semi-flat base. Then I lose my next tournament to Max again. He's the only one I've not defeated yet. Well, there's also Lee and Ray, but that's just because they haven't showed up in tournaments yet. So I just go back to quick play and test out the other guys I haven't faced yet. Ray's like Michael, nothing special and easy enough to beat. And Lee is also in this game. Neither of them are easier to beat than Tyson and Robert, so I just alternate between those two so I don't get bored. The main issue is that it's impossible to gain more than 10 BP at a time, and you have all the loading between every match and the menu to deal with. So it took about 40 minutes to earn the 200 BP to buy the Dragoon bit chip, and then another 37 minutes to earn the next 150 BP. The Dragoon Deluxe Launcher only costs 100 BP though, and there is the strongest balanced Beyblade I can build with the game's parts. I actually used to have the real Dronza Deluxe Launcher, and as an 11-year-old I thought it was the coolest thing. But then when I was 12 I also had a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Disk and I thought I looked cool wearing that thing on my wrist. Now for the remaining parts I don't own. I use the last 50 BP on the Easy Launcher. Even with this setup though, I still have a hard time defeating Max. I gain another 30 BP to buy the 8 Heavy, the last of the 3 weigh discs. 11 minutes later I had the 50 BP for the right spin gear. 14 minutes later I have 70 BP for the right spin gear with metal ball. And then another 14 minutes gets me another 70 BP for the Easy Launcher grip. When I next turn on the game, I see my 78 wins and 10 losses so far have got me to level 8 of something. I don't stop to think about it just yet. I finally figure out the last part of gameplay, using the Bit Beasts. By pressing X timed just right when the Beyblades collide, I can increase my LP by 5. When I reach 25 LP, I can summon my Bit Beast for its own special attack. In Dragoon's case, it's just a very strong crash. Some Bit Beasts can also use a special launch for 20 LP by pressing square while launching. There are ways to avoid the Bit Beast attack by pressing one of the buttons during the summoning scene, but I never figured out the timing and all my dodges were purely luck based. 16 minutes gets me 70 more BP to buy the reverse launcher grip. Then when looking through my status, I see my Beyblade level and my Bit Beast level. My character's level gains XP and levels up based on my wins, but my Bit Beast's level is increased by usage, 3 XP for a normal usage and 2 XP for a special launch. Then I realised I'm going to be here on this game a lot longer than I thought, as I'm going to have to fully level up all my Bit Beasts, all 10 of them. About 20 minutes later I figure out that Max is actually the best opponent to grind Bit Beasts with. His defense is so good that it's hard to knock him out of the stadium. This is good because it means I can build up my LP easier and get many Bit Beast attacks in during a single game. Everyone else keeps getting blasted out of the stadium before I can even summon my Bit Beast twice. When I next have 80 BP, I buy the Sniper Grip Launcher. Sorry, Striper Grip. I am at level 8 while my one match against Max has Dragoon at just level 1, with level 0 being the starting level. Next thing I buy is the 200 BP Dronza bit chip. This took a further 19 wins at least, getting me to level 9 and Dragoon all the way up to level 7. Another 150 BP for the Drasil bit chip, but I thought it was 200 so I gathered more. This was 12 extra wins and a few losses, getting me to level 10 and Dragoon to level 9. 150 BP again for the Drigger bit chip. 9 wins and 2 losses and Dragoon is level 10. Next 150 BP purchase is the Galleon bit chip. That was 15 wins and Dragoon at level 12. Yet another 150 BP to buy the Walborg bit beast. 15 more wins that gets me to level 11 and Dragoon to level 13. Then Trigal for another 150 BP. I don't know why Trigal is listed after Walborg when the story arc Michael was in was before the one with Teller. That was another 15 wins and Dragoon is now level 15. The final 150 BP bit chip is Griffolian, just called Griffin in the shop menu. That was 14 wins getting me to level 12 and Dragoon to level 16. Next is the final bit chip to buy, Knight Dronza for just 100 BP. That was 10 wins and Dragoon at level 17. Now I have all the bit chips, my next 100 BP goes to the Dual Dragon attack ring. Took 10 more wins and Dragoon is now at level 18. Another 100 BP for the Flame Wing attack ring. Another 10 wins and the first time neither me or the bit beasts have leveled up between purchases. My next 100 BP goes towards the 8 Spikes attack ring. It was 10 more wins and Dragoon is now level 19, the highest level. But he also has an XP counter going up to 999, and I can't let myself leave that unfilled. But this does mean an extra 333 summonings, per bit beast. Crossfang is the next 100 BP attack ring. Another 10 wins getting me to level 13. The 100 more BP for the Roaring Lion attack ring. And my next 100 gets me Upper Wolf, followed by a triple wing when I get the next 100. The next milestone is Dragoon maxing out level 19. With it complete I can move down the list and start it all again with Dronza. This took 31 more wins since the last time I leveled up. Dronza's special attack has it ram through the opponent's Beyblade multiple times and sends it dangerously close to the edges of the stadium, which is good when trying to win, not so good when you need to stay in to make grinding quicker. We also get to see another win condition. Reducing the opponent's Beyblade to 0 HP will break it and automatically win you the match regardless of points. I broke Max's property hundreds of times playing this game. With my next 100 BP I can buy the final attack ring, the Double Wing. That was 8 more wins, getting Dronza to level 8. Now I can move on to buying all the bases. First 150 BP for the Phantom Grip. That's 15 wins, getting me to level 14 and Dronza to level 12. Another 150 BP for the Flame Change base. 15 more wins and Dronza is level 15. The next 150 goes towards the Fortress base. Another 15 wins gets Dronza to level 17. My next 150 BP buys me the Full Auto Clutch base. Another 15 wins and Dronza is now level 19. And this is followed by the Defense Grip base too. That was 14 more wins, getting me to level 15. Dronza maxes out level 19 after just 5 more wins. Next on the list is Drasil. This one uses its huge defense to have the opponent damage themselves trying to ram through it and failing. It's also one of the safest ones to have the opponent avoid as it places you dead center in the stadium. Getting my next 150 BP lets me buy the Jumping base. That's 10 more wins and Drasil at level 8. And going down the list means the next purchase is the Griffolian base 15 wins later with Drasil at level 13. My next 150 BP buys me the last one, the Spiral Change base, just some launchers left. That's another 15 wins and Drasil at level 15. The next purchase is the 80 BP Catapult Grip. That's 8 more wins and Drasil at level 17. Then I gather 100 BP for the Dronza Deluxe Launcher. That's 10 more wins, getting me to level 16 and Drasil to level 18. And then another 100 BP buys me the final Beyblade part in the game, the Drigger Deluxe Launcher. I don't know why there's no Drasil Deluxe Launcher though, maybe it didn't exist at the time this game was being made. I'm not researching that though. You watching the video, you do it for me, I can't be arsed. That's a further 10 wins but no level ups. With all the parts, nothing else happens until Drasil is maxed out, taking a further 23 wins. At this point I was just seeing how many parts I could max out the counter at 9 with. In that time I maxed out the count for the 8 balance. I will not be maxing out every part at 9 and I will explain why after I've finished all the bit beasts. So moving down the list, Drigger is next. Drigger's special attack has both Beyblades end up in a fierce collision, with Drigger's winning and sending the opponent flying back. Nothing happens until Drigger is maxed out, which took a total 146 wins, also getting me to level 18 in that time. This is the reason I pointed out the amount of wins between my previous purchases, to show how large that number becomes when you no longer have anything new to buy. Next bit beast to equip is Galleon. The animation for Galleon's attack is exactly the same as Drigger's but with some lightning, which makes sense with them both starting from the same team I suppose. My next recording starts with Galleon maxed out, which took 121 more wins and also got me to level 19. That's half of the bit beasts maxed out, with Walborg being next. Walborg uses the same animation as Drasil, this time justifying its defense with cold air weakening the opponent's blade. By the time Walborg is maxed out, it only took 82 wins, which just means I got more summons per match from this one. Triangle is next, and is another of the Collide and Overpower attacks, but with a very slightly different animation. While Triangle was level 17, I finally maxed out my own Blader level, which took 52 wins. Then, finishing off Triangle took a further 40 wins. Next is Grifolian. This one uses the same attack animation as Dronza, with the multiple hits. While working on Grifolian, I ended up maxing out my win counter at 999 wins, meaning I no longer have any clue how long it took me to max out those last 2 bit beasts once Grifolian is maxed out. So next is Kid Dragoon, the one I started with but never used. As you would expect, Kid Dragoon just functions like a weaker version of the normal Dragoon, with the same attack animation and everything. Well, by the time I maxed out Kid Dragoon, the only information I have is that I lost twice during that grind. That just leaves Knight Dronza, and as you'd expect, it's just a slightly weaker version of the regular Dronza. And with Knight Dronza maxed out and all parts bought, I consider this game complete. I somehow didn't lose a single match during the Knight Dronza grind. During these grinds I managed to buy a full 9 of all weight discs and spin gears and every launcher except for the Drigger Deluxe. But I did max that one out afterwards. So I did consider going for maxing out all parts and I even gave it a try. But there was just too much in my way aside from not enjoying the game. I tried grinding tournaments for the free prizes at the end, but you can still be awarded parts you've maxed out, and tournaments are just very slow in general with all the dialogue to skip and the loading times between matches. Not to mention, you don't actually win any BP from the final round if you win, so that slows it down as well. So it sounds like grinding stupid AI in quick play is the way to go. But then there's the fact you can't win more than 10 BP from a single match, and there are several 200 BP parts I'd need to buy 8 more times, meaning 20 wins for each of those 8 repeated parts, meaning 160 wins just to max out one 200 BP part. I did some very rough math and realised I'd need to win around another 2,400 more matches. No chance. So that's where I'm leaving PS1 Beyblade. I mean, I doubt there's that many other people in the world who maxed out all bit beasts like I did anyway. Yeah, nostalgia didn't help out this game at all. This was a grind I worked on across a few months for an insane amount of time for a game I didn't even enjoy the basic gameplay of. And that's the thing, there is nothing else to this game other than the grind. Nothing even to unlock really, just a very limited pool of parts to buy and watching some numbers go up agonisingly slowly. This does make me curious about how Super Tournament Battle on the GameCube holds up. I do remember it feeling less clunky to control and there were basic rewards for continued play with unlockable characters and photos of all available Beyblades in the toy line at the time, but that'll have to be for another time. Never mind that this game also had a Japan exclusive V-Force branded sequel on the PS1. When it comes to this game, it has some nice music and there is some so bad it's good enjoyability from the cheesy DJ voice clips.
What a great launch! Well, big crash. The opponent's losing spinning power. Knocked off the stadium. Who is the winner?
But apart from that, this game doesn't have that much else that at least one other game doesn't offer, but better.